chairs in Mayflower room.
Oh, yeah. Hate those chairs.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Karen Bukes, and I'm the host for the evening. And yes, we're live tonight, and thank goodness, and we're here. And I thank you so much for tuning in. Let's say hello to some of our underwriters, David and Kevin Gallerani from Cape Auto Service and Cape Auto Body, right here in Plymouth. Wrestling Brewster, with wrestling with computers on PAC TV, wonderful place, Plymouth area television, right here, beautiful studios, and we thank them for it, wonderful staff that's here. You should come and join. And of course, we have One Stop Painting with Jeff Cohen, excellent service, they do great work, and Steve Trifoletti and Costa, attorneys at law. Wonderful practice right here in Plymouth. Now, you know, May 14th is coming up. That is our elections right here in Plymouth, May 14th. That is a Saturday. And David Malaguti is running for selectman, and I encourage you to vote for him. He's a wonderful selectman and a great guy, and he cares so much about this town. Rob Beelan for the planning board. Mark Garrett is leaving the planning board, and he'll be missed, and Rob is running for that seat. And Russ Shirley is running for the Housing Authority, and we wish Russ a great deal of fortune, and we wish them all good luck. Now tonight I have two of my favorite buds on, and they do yeoman's work for you right here in Plymouth. And they're going to explain a little bit what kind of government we have and how it's run. And I respect these two men very, very much. Please welcome the chair of the select board right here in Plymouth, Ken Tavares, and the chair of the FinCom, Advisory and FinCom, John Moody. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hi, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. And just so the audience knows a little bit, these latest guests were booked in December and January, and I'm working my way up the list. And all of you that have been promised to come on will be on, so hold on and you'll be getting a call soon. Well, you two are the busiest guys, I'm telling you, in Plymouth. And I don't know how you do it. And you come off of a town meeting that I thought was run exceptionally well. And but let's first talk about what kind of government we have and how the process runs.
Well, just starting out, it's a representative town meeting form of government. The town meeting is our legislative body. The Board of Selectmen, the 5 members of the board, are the executive branch. And we also are, under our charter, have a town manager that does manage the day-to-day business of the community, along with a number of other elected and appointed boards. A big part of our government is volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a ton of volunteers.
Yes, we do. We're very fortunate.
Very fortunate. And John, you're an integral part of this process too.
Right. The Advisory and Finance Committee really serves as, if you will, the vetting agent for town meeting. We review all of the articles that are being brought before town meeting, as well as the annual budget, and make recommendations to town meeting. You know, some town meeting members are able to dig into the details almost as deeply as we do. Some of them just don't have the time. So the value that the Advisory and Finance Committee brings to the process is that's our single charge, is to really dig into each one of those warrant articles, try to understand them, try to understand the negatives and the positives of each article, and make an appropriate recommendation to town meeting.
That's right. And could the both of you explain what is a warrant?
Well, the warrant is really the order of how we're going to conduct our business. The Board of Selectmen is responsible for opening and closing the warrant and presenting it to the town. Articles can be put in by petition, and it really conducts twice a year through the warrant. It's our agenda. That's how we conduct our business. But there's a long process which John and his committee are involved in as they begin to analyze and research each one of the articles.
Many, many hours goes into this, the select board, the FinCom. I mean, the hours are incalculable. I don't know how you do it. You listen to these articles that come forward over and over again, and then you fine-tune them. Talk about that process. People come before you, people come before the FinCom.
Well, want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
It starts once the warrant is posted and we start hearing the articles. We like to hear the articles before it really gets into the FinCom's arena.
Right.
So just because I think there's more public input that goes to it. But we will take X number of articles at a meeting, and we'll see what the position of the board is. Sometimes we will say, well, we're going to wait.
Right.
We need more information, and also, if the FinCom has gotten ahead of us, it's important to us to say, well, what did they say? What was their rationale? And this year was a good example of, especially on the budget part of it, that we went to town meeting in agreement on the budget. We didn't start out that way,
Nope.
but there was negotiating, and much like a conference committee, except we don't really sit down at the table at the same time.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank you, and it's much appreciated because through your leadership, and the same thing happened with the chair of Advisory and Finance, you, John, through both your leaderships. Ken, you sat there and you listened and you gave your opinions, and but you really strive to keep the budget down, and it is appreciated. And very much so, and I'm not the only one saying that, because we heard that. We heard what you said, and it was more than one meeting. And John, your committee there, you found monies. Why don't you talk about that?
So the process we go through on the budget is a fairly detailed process. We generally have one or more meetings with each of the department heads to talk about the various line items in their budget. And one of the things that I tried to focus on this year was what I like to call gray spaces in the budget, which are they're items that essentially represent assumptions that were made back in October when the budget was initially being put together. Mm-hmm. And by the time the budget gets to us in January and February, some of those assumptions may have changed. So what we tried this year was to press on some of those assumptions, and as a result of that, I think we found, I don't remember the exact number, but it was somewhere close to $750,000. Mm-hmm. Some of it was money that we could not use for other purposes because it was dedicated to the town hall. It was the meals tax money.
Sure.
So we saved $230,000 there in the meals tax money, and saving is sort of a it's not a precise word, okay?
Right.
Because you don't really save it until you prevent it from being spent. All we've done is prevented it from being budgeted to be spent.
That's a good way of putting it. Yes, that was appreciated, and you were thrilled, and it went toward.
Well, we were able then to go to town meeting and say that we could put on additional police officers.
Which is so important.
Which, you know, it's a department that we know by the national standards is undermanned.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have to be very realistic when we start the process, saying that maybe this particular year isn't the year to do certain
Mm-hmm.
projects. And I think the system worked well this year because we said, well, the board actually brought it down from what the
Yes,
department
it did.
had requested. I didn't vote for it until, you know, the FinCom went and was able to find some additional dollars that we were able to, you know, to put into the budget, and that was important. I mean, it's the first time I've ever really looked at a town budget, and I said in the beginning, I'm starting out from no, get me to yes.
I remember you saying that.
I've never done that before, but I think
that.
it was an important exercise.
Yeah.
And then you do depend on your FinCom to really start to drill down those figures, and that happened this year.
Yep.
And John did a good job.
It's tremendous work. You know, you have 15 people, John. What is the theory, of which I know, but tell us the theory of 15 people.
You know, some people think that there are 15 people on FinCom because there are 15 precincts.
Mm-hmm.
But there were 15 people on FinCom when there were, I think we had 13 precincts.
Yeah.
You know, when I first joined FinCom. So it's not really based on precincts. The objective of having 15 people is really to get a broad cross-section of the community. A lot of people seem to believe that, you know, what you want on FinCom are your financial experts, and that's not to some extent you want some of those people, but you really want the guy who is a garage mechanic, because he's the person who feels what town government is doing to the taxpayer. You know, FinCom was originally set up, and it's really mandated by the state. It was really set up as an independent body to protect the taxpayer from unnecessary taxation. And that's why our charge is to really drill into how are we spending money in the budget. You know, is that the best way for us to spend money in the budget? And we ask all of those kinds of questions. You know, sort of getting to the question of prioritizing how we spend our money.
Well, you know, you have 15 on your committee. You have 4 others aside from yourself. How is it? And I would think it would be the same if you had 2 people. How do you work with all those different personalities?
Well, the dynamics change really from board to board, and there are times that with the Board of Selectmen, when I've been on and even off the board, you see there's a great deal of disagreement, and votes are split, and you know, there may be 3-2, 2-2. I mean, it can be all over the place. But I have found in the years that I've served on the board that there is, for the most part, a desire to compromise. You're just never going to get it your way all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. It's a lesson that I've said, especially in the last few years, that Washington could really use a tutorial and come down into local government anywhere in the country and see how we work on the local level. And maybe that's because, you know, we shop in the same places, we go to the same churches, the ball fields, but you know, we have to kind of look at each other.
Yeah.
And if you want to sit there and be stubborn, you're not going to get very far.
Great statement. Great statement, Ken.
I actually agree with you, and I think part of the problem with our national politics and the reason why there's so much vitriol in the conversation there is because for many of those people, politics is a career.
Yeah.
For us, it's a living. Okay, this is what we do every day.
And you're not paid.
to keep our community running.
When you say living, you might give the impression that, you know, you paid all these dollars, and that just doesn't happen. Even the selectmen, they don't get anything really.
No, they don't.
A town moderator doesn't get anything. You know,
but
really.
What I mean by living is this is what we do to keep our community operating.
Yes.
Okay. You're right. We don't get salaries. We don't get benefits.
What you get is
the satisfaction of what you've done for the community.
helping.
When I walked away from town meeting this past spring, I felt good about what we had achieved as a community.
Yeah.
With the selectmen weighing in on their portion of it and what the FinCom was able to achieve, and then the deliberations that town meeting went through. I felt really good about this past town meeting because I think it went off really well, and I think town meeting made some good decisions.
Yes, they did. I watched it even though I couldn't be there. I watched every moment of it, and I always look forward. It's like the OCM newspaper. The first section I go to is the editorial. I look forward to the chairman of the selectmen getting up and saying giving his thoughts and his concerns, and I find that Chairman Tavares always gives an uplifting, wonderful speech to town meeting. It is very, very thoughtful. And I look forward to that because it sets a tone. And he has set that tone on the select board also.
Yep.
And this is what I hear throughout the community, so I so appreciate it. And you, John, you go by Robert's rules, don't you?
I guess you could say I'm a little bit of a rules geek, but with 15 people or 14 people to manage, you really have to rely on rules to a much greater extent than I think a group of 5 do.
Yes.
Because it can get pretty chaotic, and even with your best effort to keep the thing orderly and operating within the rules, it can still get chaotic.
Yes.
But one of the things that I hear in the community is that people really appreciate the order that I've brought to those meetings. They can understand what we're doing. And but by the time they get to town meeting, they know exactly what FinCom did on each of those articles.
Well, that's the type of government we have because everything is done out in the open.
Yep.
And your community is involved. So it's really good. But the next thing I want to talk about, because I have to know.
Okay.
You've been so busy these past few days. Who was here and where did you go?
Well, it's actually been a fun-filled few days since Sunday. We had a group from the UK that came here, counterparts for the folks that are planning our 400th commemoration here in Plymouth. There were 13 people that came from the UK. This visit was based primarily around economic development and also the arts and humanities. And we've been going from early morning until late at night with meetings and trying to make the most out of it. Today, we had an absolutely phenomenal meeting. We had requested, and through our state delegation that I can't thank enough, from our senator down to our 3 representatives, we were able to go to Beacon Hill today, and we sat in a room with the governor, the lieutenant governor, the president of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, and the Secretary of Housing and Economic Development. And for 1 hour, we had the opportunity to talk about the commemoration. And one of the points that I tried to make to them, because we're requesting funds and support from the state, was that this anniversary is so different than any of the others that we've had before. And we're not looking for bricks and mortar in this one. We're looking for a spirit, and how do we tell the story of what actually happened, even in our own community. We forget that our Mayflower Compact that they signed in Provincetown, brought to Plymouth, is really the basis for the Declaration of Independence and the
Absolutely.
Constitution. And as the Brits are very fast to point out, there's a direct connection to the Magna Carta.
Yes.
So we have been looking to. Some people call this a party. There's nothing wrong with having fun.
I hope so. I hope we have fun.
Well, we'll have some fun activities, but there are great economic benefits. It is amazing what we discussed in the last couple of days about the possibilities of things that we can do in exchange. And it isn't just Plymouth, England. There is the entire UK that I think that we're starting to open up, and we're showing, and we're going back to the State House in about 6 or 7 weeks to show how these benefits will spread out throughout the entire state. And that's because one small ship came here and they stayed, and it's amazing. So I think that we've got a lot to look forward to, but it isn't just a parade. It isn't going to be just fireworks.
Right.
There's going to be great things that are going to happen for the community, and it's going to help us. Plymouth, England is a city of 260,000 people. We're a town of 60,000. What was amazing was the similarities and some of the things that we've already done in planning and already in our thought process, and how there are really, doesn't matter that they're across the Atlantic, there are some direct connections that are coming about, and I think it's going to be exciting for every age group in our community.
Well, that only means the bond will be stronger when they do come, and when you do have the festivities. And I know that they are very appreciative of what this town is doing and wants to do, and they want to be part of it.
Oh, absolutely. Every one of them in the last few days will come up and say, "This is a beautiful town. You have a beautiful town." And it's always nice to hear, because when you live here, it's like looking at your own house. You say, "Oh, that needs to be done. This needs to be done. That's driving me crazy." And then you have someone come in and say, "It's beautiful. I got up at 6 o'clock this morning and I walked your waterfront." They love the architecture and the people. I think that was the other thing. They have been very impressed with the people that they have met in the last few days. So it's going in the right direction.
It is going in the right direction, and they went into woods to have something to eat, and they loved that. And
God bless Jay,
Yes.
Jay Kimball. He hosted them, and it was his treat.
He's a good man.
And it was funny because I was sitting at a table, and Jay treated them, not at government expense, at his.
Yes.
He treated them to a lobster dinner.
Yep.
And 3 of them, there were 4 of us at the table, they looked at me and they said, "How do you eat this?"
Oh, they didn't. They never had it.
Yeah, and I looked at him, I said, "Just pity the first person on
Yes,
earth
who
that picked up
tried
our lobster and said, 'How am I going to eat you?'" But they did. They caught on. They had a great meal, and they said usually when they have it, it's already prepared, and they thought that New England lobster was better than what they get in their own country.
I'm sure.
So thank you, Jay.
New England lobster is even better than Florida
Yeah.
lobster. Oh, geez, it's not even a lobster as far as I'm concerned. But I understand, Ken, that the governor took his own notes.
He does. This governor is, I think, is very unique. He has. I'm a Democrat, but I am very impressed by what he's done. How his administration has reached out and worked with communities. We signed the compact with the lieutenant governor earlier this year, and there is a strong commitment to work with the cities and towns, and it doesn't hurt that the governor was a selectman.
Yep.
In his hometown. And I've been very impressed. When you go to a meeting, he has a pad of paper and he's taking his own notes. And today, I actually said to Representative Coulter, I thought he was taking an exam. He never stopped writing.
Yeah.
But that's good, because then he goes back and he hands out assignments, as I was told, to his staff, and gets the information that he needs, and to govern fairly.
That's hopeful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
With
I'm
all
very
he
impressed.
got to do, he sat with you for an hour. Karen Polito.
Karen and
Yes.
the Speaker of the House actually listened to the presentation for the first time. The Senate President we've had a meeting with him last year, and also he's been to Plymouth, England, so he knew a great deal about it.
Excellent.
But this administration is committed to helping communities and really working hard to do that. They show it.
Yes, they do, and they like coming here, and I've known that for a long time. You know, Plymouth gets out and they support their people, and I wish the voting was much larger, but we're a community that really cares about the community, and they got that.
Yes.
You know, and so how many times have been to the Pine Hills?
Well, I know the Lieutenant Governor likes the grocery store.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I know. So it sounds very hopeful, Ken, and you're on the right track. And the committee, the 400th, would you like to pay tribute to the 400th?
Well, we're very fortunate. We have a large, the 400th, Plymouth 400 is a nonprofit 501c3 corporation. We do receive support from the town, from the Commonwealth, and from individual businesses right now in the area. We have a hardworking board. We have a phenomenal staff led by the executive director, Michelle Pecoraro, and we are now beginning the process of looking for major sponsors for the activities that are already planned. So
Excellent.
there's a lot of work ahead for these people, and just last week the representatives of the 400th went out and met in the community. I encourage people that don't know much about it and want to know.
To go.
We do these meetings periodically. It's a great way to ask questions and to see what's going on. Plymouth is going to be on an international stage in 2020. But I think the real benefit of this is what we're going to look like after 2020 and the direction that we're setting ourselves in. There are a lot of eyes on this community, and sometimes, again, you don't appreciate it, knowing how many people are looking at you. But you know, our growth is John knows, and from the demand from services is continuing every single year. Plymouth is very attractive, you know, to folks. We've got a great educational system here.
Yes, we do.
And we have our other challenges. I mean, it's you know,
It's all going to come together.
I can be very realistic about that.
Yeah, you know, it's not easy being a selectman and or a town manager for this town. You know, it's so large.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge, and you have to balance. And you can't make everybody happy.
No, you
can't
can.
do it.
And every board, I mean, the Advisory and Finance Committee sees it, the Planning Board, the School Committee, the Board of Selectmen. I'm very fortunate. I work with 4 other colleagues on my board that put in countless hours, and it's what helps make the system, you know, work.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You have to have a burning desire to be a selectman. People might have a romantic desire, but it has to be a burning desire because it's a 24/7.
Yep.
Well, it's still at the. I sometimes say we're at the end of the food chain, you know, politically, but. There is a great deal of satisfaction if you care about your community. And I see this all the time with people that, just last night at our meeting, there was a group that wanted us to name the pitch pine the official tree of Plymouth. and they talked about the conservation measures and what's going on and what they're trying to save. We have people like that throughout this community. They're running sports teams. They have food pantries, and sometimes we forget the very positive things that are going, and there are additional challenges. Our sewer situation is certainly something that none of us anticipated, and and we'll be working on that for weeks to come. There's always a question about, well, are the town departments doing enough? Can we, what out of the work do we need to have done? Those are going to happen. It's part of living, and you just hope you have good people in charge, and that we can work together and settle the differences.
To me, it's not an emotional question in regards to the sewer pipe. It is a practical measure. This is something, you have to be realistic about it. And as you have been, as all the departments have and the committees have, and you're caught between a rock and a hard place. What do you do? Do you ignore it? No. Do you say, you could say 1,000 different things, but you have to come to a balanced decision, and I know you're working toward that. So, and when it happens, it'll happen, and that's the way it goes.
That's right. Well, I mean, the information, as you know, I think I've spoken to you folks about this, is being gathered, and we need all of the information before decisions can be made. I know folks are anxious for that. We are too. It's tough to explain to visitors, well, what's that stuff doing above ground? What's that pipe doing?
It's amazing to watch, because given the catastrophe, it could have been.
It could have been, yes.
And, I mean, it was bad enough as it was, but we got some pretty darn good department heads and workers here, employees, that hopped right on that. Good decisions were made. I mean, you tortured yourselves trying to come up with the right formula to see it through, and I mean, you're not there yet, but you will be.
No, we're not done, but you're absolutely right. The Department of Public Works, all of the folks in the department, JB as the DPW director, the town manager, the Board of Selectmen, we went to numerous meetings at all hours of the day. The company that we hired, it was a bad situation. It's an expensive one, but we were also very fortunate. If it had been the winter of a year ago, if the ground had been right, absolutely. If the ground had been frozen, if we weren't able to get someone in here right away,
20 feet of snow.
Yeah, and the locations, it was able to be contained. As much as I worried about it, and worried about the other two breaks, which we knew would happen. I think we're very fortunate, considering what could have happened.
We were very lucky.
Yes, John.
The weather was, if the weather in New England can be, the weather was cooperative.
Yeah.
It gave us the opportunity to deal with it.
Yes.
If we'd had 20 feet of snow on the ground.
Oh, I don't even know.
I don't think you could have done anything.
I can't even think about it.
I know I would have cried. Now, John, I know firsthand there were people on your FinCom that were adamantly against anybody having to do with the sewer pipe other than the town, the town meeting, town hall, finances. By the time that went through, by the time you deliberated, by the time they sifted through the ins and outs, the yeses and nos, the grays, they all came away with, we have to do it.
Well, the challenge comes when you talk about who's going to pay for it. And as was done at town meeting, we made it very clear that, the article that we were reviewing and we're sending to town meeting didn't address that. okay? And it doesn't address that by intent.
Right.
Because nobody knows how that's going to
gonna
fall
shake
out at this
out,
point. So the committee ended up unanimously supporting doing the right thing for the community, which is to put in the best possible sewer solution that we can
That's right.
at this point
We
in
have to
time
come together.
to make sure that this doesn't happen again, to make sure that we have a solid fix, and to make sure that the fix that we put in place provides for the ability to properly maintain that
Right.
line going forward, which
You get
was
what
probably
you
one of
pay
the
for.
challenges we had
You
before.
can't go by the cheap.
Yep.
Not anymore. Maybe years ago, the mindset wasn't there.
Yep.
But today we know better, and you try and hold the costs down, but you've got to do the best job
Yeah,
possible.
short-term thinking when it comes to infrastructure is, I guess I'm pretty safe saying, is the worst kind of thinking. When you're talking about a sewer system, or you're talking about a water system, you're talking about your roads and your highways, you really need to be looking out past,
that.
your lifetime.
Yeah.
You need to be looking out to the lifetimes of your children and potentially even your grandchildren, of course, depending on how old you are.
Right.
And making the decisions that are right for those people.
Yes.
And a lot of times, I think this is one of the things that's influencing the conversation around the sewer. People are thinking about it very short term. It's like, why do I have to pay for it? And it's
Because the whole town voted.
the whole town voted, to do that. But it's also because it's the right thing to do for
Yes,
the
of
community
course.
that we live in, and that we hope our children are going to grow up in,
Yeah.
and that we hope that our grandchildren are going to grow up in.
Did
It's
we
just the right
want
thing
it
to do.
happen? No, nobody
Yeah.
wanted this to happen.
Yep.
Anything can happen. Things change in an instant.
Yep.
And you have to,
Roll with the punches.
go with the punches.
Yep.
And that's where leadership comes in, and it has. So, very happy.
Well, John and I have talked about this. The only constant is the change.
Yeah.
The only constant is the change.
Is the
Yep.
change.
Yes, you should elaborate upon that because, people don't think that way. But the only constant is the change.
Yeah.
Yeah, good thinking. Now, how is the courthouse coming along?
It's actually on schedule
Yeah.
right now. There was another construction meeting this week, and I understand that number one, we have to give a great deal of applause to the building committee.
Oh, sure.
Our building committee
Yep.
is
We have a great building
extremely
committee.
busy with the projects
Is
that are in
David
town.
Peck still on
Yes,
that?
yeah,
Oh,
David
I
chairs.
love him.
David chairs the
Yeah.
committee. Does a great job. The courthouse, if you go by
Yeah.
this week, is covered in scaffolding. The restoration work is being done, and it seems that most that are working on the project are pleased, with what's
Good.
being done. It was interesting to show it to our visitors. They were extremely impressed. Looking at it from the waterfront, going up Brewster,
Right, going up Brewster Street.
up
Yeah, it's
Brewster
beautiful.
Street, and even this week, the Plymouth Growth and Development Corporation came forward and said that they would like to do it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but they'd like to do a feasibility study to put leveled parking next to Burial Hill. And,
yeah. Oh, yes,
and it
and
wouldn't,
back there?
right? It wouldn't be, we wouldn't be putting that on the tax rate. That would be done through
Right.
their revenues. But there was agreement by the building committee that this should be looked at.
Good.
So that not only when town hall is open, but during the busy tourist season,
Yep.
there'll be some additional parking back there.
That's excellent. They stepped up. But they always do, PGDC.
But it's a big hole in the ground right now, and
That's okay.
it's still a 2-year project that we're looking to,
Yeah.
to open up.
And it will be ready for 2020.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah, it should
Yeah.
be 2 years. It should be done 2 years before.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, 2 years, yes. This is 16.
Yeah. Time's
Still.
marching.
It still
let
is
me
16.
rush.
Yeah.
Don't let me rush time, please.
No,
I
we do.
know, but we go by and we look, and it's just it's exciting to see it grow, and it's going to become beautiful.
It is going to be a beautiful town hall.
Well, that brings me to yesterday. I had to do a few errands in town hall, and I wanted to visit Larry Pizer. I love going in there, saying hi to Pearl and everybody. And you go into these little cubicles of offices, department heads, and you look around where they have to store things. And Larry's been living out of that little storeroom in the back ever since. And I told him, I don't know how you do it, Larry. Where you put the stuff. And I'm sure it's in other places, just like every other department, you've had to work out of boxes, downstairs, they're limited. And it will be just so wonderful to have that town hall with the space that it's going to have.
Yeah, absolutely. It will certainly make the day-to-day business of the town run smoother. The folks that we had as visitors this week, we showed them the town hall. They said, well, where are you now? And we told them that we have never built a town hall.
Yeah.
That we've recycled buildings.
Yeah.
They were quite impressed with that.
Now, that should be said more often, Ken, because that's a wonderful point. We recycle buildings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some towns don't do that. They tear them down or whatever. And you're a great historian there because you remember what happened.
Jim Baker's the great historian.
Yeah.
I just love the building.
Yeah, but remember what happened to one section of town?
Well, that's right. When back in the late '60s, the '70s, when the renewal took place on Summer Street, we lost a great deal of homes that today you wouldn't do. But it was a different time.
It was a
different way of
time.
looking at urban renewal.
Right. And look at the Big Dig. Would they have done it that way?
Yeah, I don't know. That's not our problem.
Not our problem. So the state pier is going to be worked on. How's that coming along? And you've gotten things through the budget. Not yet coming. No, that's state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's state money. What we do with regard to the budget is we budget the matching funds for the state grants that are received.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know that David Gould in Marine and Environmental Affairs has been really instrumental in getting some of that funding from the state to actually get that town pier worked on.
And Secretary Ash was here at the beginning of the year and brought the last check that we needed from the state to complete that project. The town had put its money up, and we did get the grant from the state, and it's going to be inconvenient for probably about a year and a half as we go through this.
There's never a good time.
Well, there's never a good time to do construction, but when it is done, it's going to serve the fleet. I was surprised. I didn't realize until fairly recently that we are the second largest lobster port in the Commonwealth. I guess in the last 2 weeks we may have slipped in number 3, but I heard it was something about the winter catch and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
No.
We're in the top 3.
Wow.
And this will serve that fleet and give us the opportunity to develop the harbor and the folks that are using it and the businesses that are using it. I mean, it is a working
harbor.
It is. David has done a great job. We've got a harbor master staff that's right up to par. Again, good things. In Plymouth.
It's an important part of our economic engine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And over the years it's been sort of pushed to the side just because of the condition that it's been in.
Yeah.
and hopefully, the money that's being invested to build that pier out to be a modern pier is really going to serve to drive some additional economic growth in town.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so far overdue. When Secretary Ash came down last fall, I don't know if you know him, but he's a very tall man. I think he's about a half an inch shorter than the governor, and he's a big.
And he's enormous.
Yeah, and he's a big man. So we walked out on there, and I said, "Just look down, Mr. Secretary. That's why we have to replace this."
Yeah.
Yes. Well, they saw a need.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
The last time I was out there, and I think that was probably last summer, I was pretty much appalled by the fact that, there are sections of the pier where there were like pieces of plywood that were like wood screwed down, to cover a hole in the pier so people wouldn't fall through
and
it.
I think the fishermen did that, so they could
Yes,
continue. They did it themselves.
Yeah.
And it's I guess I would say it's deplorable that, we would allow some of our infrastructure to get to that point.
Well, it's very expensive, and
Yes,
that's
is.
why it's so great that the state stepped up, and we deserve it. This town deserves a fabulous working pier, an enjoyable pier, and we do deserve it. What about Cottage Park? Now, that's very deep water there. Cruise ships can come in there. But it would have to be dredged a little bit. But we researched that out, and it is very deep water. And we found out that, yes, John, you can talk to
So
this.
is that cruise ships or is that ferry boats? Because when I hear the term cruise ship, and I think Ken is going
were
through
you
Ken's
thinking
head
of
too,
the
we were
Titanic?
thinking of Carnival Cruises, coming in with the...
Well, we've had some of the smaller
Yeah.
boats, cruise ships, off of the entrance to the harbor. I mean, out further, and there is I think a desire to see if we can bring some of the smaller ones in closer. But Cottage Park is, I think, getting to be our next big success story.
Yes.
The construction on the housing is going to take place soon. Again, we were able to use state funding to get the promenade to assist the development of that.
So happy about that.
So there'll be some, great new housing going in there.
Yeah.
The Genetti brothers have worked hard for years on developing it.
I saw the plans a long time ago.
There are hundreds of people that work there, and I think that we're all going to be even prouder of that location. It's going to help North Plymouth.
North Plymouth.
It's certainly going to help in that regard.
All of us. I'm telling you, the economic boom are coming out of there.
Right, and they've got some great plans.
Guess what? We have a phone call. Hello,
Okay.
you're on Talk of the Town.
Good evening, Karen. It's Kevin calling in. Hello, Ken and John.
Hey, Kevin,
Hi.
how are you?
Good. I'm, sitting here thinking, and we're talking about 2020 and all the development that's going on and the amount of tourism and so forth. But the one thing that I think we lack in the tourism sector here in Plymouth are pet-friendly accommodations.
Oh, yeah.
Dog parks, downtown that kind of shows itself to be a little more pet-friendly with water bowls or things along
That's
those
a good
lines.
idea.
Almost every tourist town I go to now cater to people that travel with dogs.
That's a good idea,
A
Kevin.
dog park somewhere near the town center where they can bring the dogs, and I'm just wondering, I know it's something that's come up now and then, but has there been any discussion on what people traveling with their pets can expect for 2020? And I'll leave you with that.
That's a great question, Kevin.
This evening at I think it was around 6 o'clock, there was a meeting with a group that's been working on a dog park, and it's in West Plymouth. There has been some negotiations going on, with the neighbors.
Where is it?
It's near the Catholic Church, backing up to the town fields, and Selectman Mahoney has been working on this for a while.
That's wonderful.
So I know that the plans have been drawn up, but there are buffer zones that are being and distances being discussed right now. So I'm sure we're going to hear something within the month if there's been some agreements and looking for the endorsement of the board.
That's wonderful. And, you know, the businesses should be approached along the way they're both on the waterfront and downtown all the way up with those water bowls because people love to walk their dogs.
Yes, particularly along the waterfront there.
Yes,
Yep.
and we used to carry a bottle of water. But that would be, yes, and Kevin's right. You know, you go to these towns and they're out there, and you appreciate it, and you might even go into that store because they have a little water bowl for the dog.
Yep.
And that's a great idea. So we got to stay tuned for this dog park.
Well, that was part of our discussion last night.
Whoa, this is timely.
With the board, because I reminded them that anytime you talk about animals and children,
Yeah.
you're going to have a lively discussion.
Yep.
But
Or rubbish and roads.
Or rubbish and roads. Yeah.
the list gets long.
Yeah. If you,
God, I don't know how
if
you
you sit
do
and
it.
think about it, the list can get long.
Which brings me to White Horse Beach. When is that road going to be done?
Taylor Ave.
Taylor Ave. You escaped me for a second there. Taylor Ave. I know it's coming up.
I actually am not sure of the date. Something I'd have to check and get back to you because I did hear something, but I don't want to repeat.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure about when the work was going to be started.
Yeah.
So, but I believe it's
Right around the corner.
It is, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I can find out for you.
Yeah, because that bridge is, oh, that's okay. I mean, I can pick up the phone. I'll pick up. You got enough to do. You know, I'm sure you'll say it from the select board, you know, when you're sitting there, when you know. So no problem there. But are all the contracts signed?
No.
No.
No. We're still negotiating. We've.
Oh, I thought they were.
No.
I would not have asked.
No, it's okay. It's part of the
were.
process, and
Yeah.
it's being worked on, and
Good. Okay.
it's our goal to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, July's coming.
Yeah, it is.
You know, but we changed. Well, town meeting changed, but the charter committee changed the voting day. It's not going to be Mother's Day, thank God. Weekend.
I couldn't have been happier.
Yeah.
I think it was tough on a lot of
Yeah.
families that were out collecting signs on Mother's Day
Yeah,
when they
it's-
should have been
With their
celebrating
mother.
their mother.
Yep,
Or
that's
their
a little
wife.
bit challenging. Explaining to your
Yeah.
wife that you've got to go out and collect signs on
Yes.
Mother's Day morning.
And they had
Yeah.
to be done.
Yep.
As we did, but people were out visiting all weekend or whatever, and it wasn't, so maybe it'll work, a week later.
Well, I really hope that it does generate a little more enthusiasm for voting. The turnout that we get, 10 to 12%,
I know.
is really disappointing. In a community of 60,000 people where there's 38,000 registered voters for 6, maybe 7,000 people to show up at the
Yeah.
polls for a local election. The local elections are really the most important elections
That
that
you'll
happen.
ever do,
Okay.
ever.
When was the last time the President of the United States did something that impacted you every single day of your life?
Yeah.
As opposed to, a decision that was made by town meeting. So the local elections are really much more important than people give them credit for.
Well, that's where it is.
Yep.
It's all local.
Yep.
Who said that?
No. Tip.
Yeah.
Tip.
Yeah.
And granted, because Ken made this comment earlier, what happens is because our community is driven so much by volunteerism.
Yeah.
I think to a certain extent, people who are volunteering to be coaches for athletic leagues and doing things on that Saturday, it does create a draw against those people turning out at the polls. But it's an hour, at most, for you to
At
drive to your
most.
local poll, cast your ballot, and move on with the day. I think it's really
teach your
important. We should be
children.
we should be seeing. I mean, this is where our form of government originated. We made the comments about the Mayflower Compact.
Yeah.
That it's the basis for the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and it traces back to the Magna Carta. It's like, for us to have 10-12% turnout as the place where democracy, first set its foot in the United States, is really kind of sad, I think.
Yeah, they don't concentrate on it, or they don't know. Some people do. I take it as an honor to vote. I only missed one vote in my life, and I was having a baby, so I couldn't go.
You're excused.
So, I love to vote. It's a great honor, and people died. Military died for us to do that.
Yep.
So,
And they're still dying.
and they're still dying.
Yep.
By the way, we're going to have a big election coming up in November.
Yes.
Yes, I know we don't talk about it because we don't, we're not affiliated. When you're a selectman or elected official, parties don't come into it.
Well, we certainly have tried in this community to keep local
Right.
elections nonpartisan. And there are groups that
Nonpartisan.
have tried to change it, but for the most part,
Yeah.
the community does reject it. When you get to
Yep.
the state and the federal level,
Yep, you
it's
have
an
to.
entirely
Yep.
different game. So
But this is a big election in November,
it is.
and
It
they're
is.
going to come out.
Yeah, I think we're going to see, large numbers, and as we
As it
should.
should be.
As it should be.
But I'm a political junkie. I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch a lot of news, and I watch all the channels because I want to know what everybody's saying. Then I go to bed and put on talk radio, and I want to throw the phone across the room. But that's how I get to know how people are thinking,
Yep.
And I think it's important. And Plymouth South is coming along. I haven't been there in a long time to
Looks
see
great.
it. It does look
Yeah,
great.
Great.
And so what would you like to talk about? We're at the end. I don't even know. The clock isn't working, so I don't know what time it is. What time is it?
I have 8:56.
Okay, so we're
4
right
minutes.
up there. So like I reminded everyone, we have an election coming up. David Malaguti is running for selectman. Yay, David. Rob Beelan, Planning Board, and Russ Shirley Housing Authority. That's Saturday, May 14th. And, they put their heart into everything. And I hear the music, and I cannot thank these two gentlemen enough for being here. They're wonderful. They work hard for you. Another show in 2 weeks. I think it's going to be the Three Amigos. See you in 30?
Thanks, Karen.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, we'll make sure we take that off. We give this to you.
Thank you.